What's going on, everybody? Thank you for clicking on the video. This is a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now. I've racked up a decent amount of hours on these KTM 250s now, and I've gotten the chance to ride a lot of different bikes in between. Now we're talking two-strokes today, so if you're a four-stroke fan, this video may not be for you. There's probably different help centers out there that you can go get checked out at. But let me just start out this video by saying I did not set out to buy a 250 two-stroke. So I was on the CRF 450L at the time, and I just got sick and tired of carrying all the weight around, the flame out issues that inherently come with the bigger bore four strokes, and I was ready for a change. So I hopped on Facebook Marketplace as always and started looking. I really was leaning more towards getting a 300, but my mind was still open to anything that I could get a good deal on. So from what I found, and still to this day, you will find a lot more used 250s for sale than 300s. That's just the way it is. The 300s have a cult following, and they're the holy grail of the enduro scene. So on top of there being more 250s out there for sale in general, they're also going for better prices. So I did a little bit of research and found what I wanted to hear and went ahead and picked up the first KTM 250 XCW. That is not the one that you see behind me. This one was supposed to be my girlfriend's bike, but we ended up switching due to the fact that this one had lower hours and I had a big out west trip planned. But they are the same exact year, model, and everything. So we have an identical pair of 2018 KTM 250 XCWs, both the last year for the carb. Needless to say, I fell in love right away. I spend 99% of my time riding in the woods, tight technical stuff, hill climbs, so I instantly knew that this bike was a keeper, and I was thoroughly impressed and happy with my purchase. I did actually get a chance to ride a 300, but it was a much older model, and it's not really a good comparison, on top of the fact that this is counterbalanced. But that's a whole different subject of its own. So a month or so passed, I was racking up a bunch of hours having the time of my life. And while on a trail ride, I actually got to ride two different 300s in the same day, a Beta 300RR and a Sherco 300. Now let me premise these next points by saying that I have no bias. KTM doesn't pay me. I don't care that this is my bike. It doesn't mean anything. Bikes are bikes. I'll let anybody with common sense ride my stuff, try it out. So I'm not attached to this in any shape or form. So just because it's mine doesn't mean that I have a biased opinion. But after riding those couple 300s, it gave me a chance to feel the power difference, and it is definitely there. No, it's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable. So the biggest thing that you're gonna notice from the 250 to the 300 is the 300 is gonna have more torque on the low end.
This thing has torque, dude. These things have great torque.
The 300 is gonna lug better, it's gonna chug up hills a little bit easier. So basically what I just said is that it's better for all of the riding that I like to do. Then why do I still have the 250? For those of you that know the channel, I move through bikes pretty quick, so why is this still here and why haven't I made the jump to the 300? Now I didn't finish talking about the differences that I found, so let's go ahead and do that. Obviously the low end torque is noticeable, but what was also noticeable was the fact that this 250, to me, felt lighter. I know and have talked to a lot of people that have owned both, and we have all agreed on the fact that the 250 just feels a little bit lighter. Yes, they're the same physical weight, but the 250 has a little bit less rotating mass, and just the way that the 250 delivers power, it feels lighter. Now, once you get out of that low to mid range is where the 250 really shines. This thing is fun to ring out and go fast. It's got a more fun power band to play with. So if you're spending your time in more wide open, flowy areas, then you're probably gonna have more fun on the 250. And at the end of the day, there isn't a huge difference, but it is noticeable. This bike is more fun to ride fast, and apart from having a little bit less torque on the low end, that wasn't enough for me to make the switch. So another argument that comes up, and I can agree with, is the fact that the 250 will make you a better rider. The 300 has got its name as the cheater bike. You can definitely be a lot more lazy with the power on the 300. For example, you're going up a hill climb, you're chugging along in second gear, the 300 is just gonna be more forgiving in the fact that there will be more to lug. You're gonna be able to lug that thing out a little bit better than the 250, to where you're gonna have to struggle in some cases to keep the 250 in the power band. So while owning this bike, I've really got a chance to practice feathering the clutch, and it's definitely made me a much better rider overall. Hopping to these other bikes bikes and being able to feather the clutch, you have to practice that a lot more on the 250. Therefore, you're gonna have more experience and you're gonna grow more as a rider. So that is something I have enjoyed. During my Colorado trip, which I'm still uploading videos of, I was the only 250 there. And I don't wanna say that it gave me like a chip on the shoulder or anything, but it just felt good to be able to do everything that the 300s could. And that is the thing, with a little bit more effort, you're gonna be able to do everything that a 300 could. So if you're lazy, maybe the 300 is a better option for you, but I enjoy the challenge and growing my skills as a rider. Also, in some cases, the 300 might have a little bit too much power, but that just all comes down to your own self-control and learning the bike. But in some cases, you might be able to find traction a little bit better with the 250 because you're not gonna have that extra torque that the 300 offers. But like I said, that just comes down to learning your machine, throttle, and clutch control. So this next point is something that I can't really speak on personally, but I'm sure some of you have experienced it, so feel free to drop a comment down below. First off, if you've never ridden a counterbalance two-stroke, A, you're missing out, and B, you might not want to comment on this. That being said, I have heard people say that the 300s vibrate a little bit more than the 250s, and I've also heard that the 250s consume a little bit less fuel than the 300s. Now to me, that can be debatable because if you're on the pipe more on the 250, then I would think you'd be using more fuel, but at the end of the day, that really comes down to riding style. But regardless of whatever I end up with in the future, I will never make the switch back. The counterbalance two-stroke is just amazing. I've ridden a bunch of old two-strokes, and the 300s that I rode that are non-counterbalanced, they vibrate like hell compared to these. And while we were out in Colorado, we were riding like 60 plus miles in a day, and I was just super thankful to be on this bike, and my hands never got sore, never got that numbing sensation that you get with the non-counterbalanced two-strokes. So that is really the future of two-strokes, and that won't even be a topic of conversation in a few years. I think Sherco's bringing it in 2022. They're a lot smaller of a company, but the Beta has it. Obviously the Husky, KTM, the Gas, they're all the same. But back to the 250 versus the 300. If you haven't already, I encourage you to ride them both before you make a decision if you're in the market. If you've only ridden 300s, I encourage you to ride a 250, see what you think. I try to keep an open mind with everything on two wheels. Like I said, unless you're getting paid by a company, there's really no reason to be biased. Ride what you like, ride what works good, but don't stick up for something just because it's what you own. So with all of this being said, do I see myself buying a 300 two-stroke in the future? Absolutely. I would like to own one personally for a longer period of time, and that way I can really get a feel for what I prefer long-term with my riding style. But I am more than happy on this 250. Like I said, they both have their pros and cons. They're both very similar. And if you can find a deal on whichever one, go with that. You're not gonna regret either one. You will find more of the 250s for sale for a better price. Personally, I don't buy stuff new. I buy slightly used. That's a whole different conversation in itself, but you can save a lot of money buying a low hour bike. You go to the dealership, you take something home, you just lost $1,000 right there. But to each his own. I know some people that literally buy a brand new bike every year and either sell it off at the end of the season or trade it in for the next model. With the sport of enduro, bikes get pretty beaten up, so that might be a better option for you. But for me, I just ride for fun, and at the end of the day, bikes are just bikes. There's gonna be more out there for sale, so I can't even say whether I'm gonna keep this thing. So I instantly knew that this bike was a keeper. Who knows? But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I know it's been addressed before, but I just wanted to give you my thoughts on these KTM 250s as I've owned and ridden them for a little while now. Also, let me know what other topics you would want me to cover. I'm always open for video suggestions. Still fighting with this broken knee here, so I have time to do stuff like this. But that's gonna do it for today's video. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you're already here, turn those notifications on. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and until the next video, I'll see you then.